Hello everybody and welcome to my channel. I'm Chief Sweet, and today I'm going to be showing you my bearded dragon feeding guide. Now you may have just got a bearded dragon, you're wondering to yourself, what does a bearded dragon eat? Don't worry, I got you. So bearded dragons are omnivores, which means they eat plants and insects and even other lizards, including, it could be like pinky mice. They eat a ton of other things, wide range of things. Honestly, a bearded dragon will almost eat anything you put in front of its face. But let's talk about insect-wise what you can choose from for a bearded dragon. There's a wide variety, and you can get these almost anywhere, including the internet, which I highly recommend because a lot of this stuff, if you go inside a store, you get like 20 of them. It's like $8, $10. Well, if you go online, myself, I go to Pangea Reptile, Josh's Frogs, Rainbow Mealworms. There's tons of sites. Amazon, I think, even sells it. But you can get for $20, you get like 1,000 crickets. And let's go ahead and go through the list of insects since I just said crickets. Obviously, crickets is one of them. Red runner roaches is another one. Madagascar hissing cockroaches, like the babies of the not the full-grown one, but it's like babies, because Madagascar hissing cockroaches have like a really hard exoskeleton, but the babies do not. So you could feed like baby Madagascar hissing cockroaches, discoid roaches, dubia roaches, mealworms, silkworms, black soldier fly larvae, and hornworms. Now, I say and hornworms is because, yes, you can feed hornworms at a store if you buy them, but do not feed hornworms from outside, because hornworms from outside, I cannot talk today, forgive me, but hornworms, oh my gosh, hornworms from outside are toxic to a lot of lizards inside. They eat, whatever they eat outside makes them toxic, just like a poison dart frog, wherever they're from, you know, and they're not toxic in captivity, but they are toxic in the wild, that sort of thing. So don't, and that gives me on to my next point, do not feed stuff from the outside to your bearded dragon, okay? Now, I know you're probably like, well, there's a cricket outside, but a cricket outside may have gotten into some pesticides, and he's on his last leg. He's just walking around looping. You find him, and you feed him to your bearded dragon. Then that poison cricket will then poison your bearded dragon. And not only that, a lot of people, you don't know what in your area is toxic to a bearded dragon. For example, fireflies. If your bearded dragon eats a firefly, he will die. Fireflies are very toxic to bearded dragons. They killed a lot of bearded dragons in captivity. So be careful, even if a firefly just runs into your house and gets inside your bearded dragon enclosure, and then your bearded dragon eats it, you want to go to the vet as soon as possible. It's in zoos everywhere. These fireflies in America have killed tons of bearded dragons, and that's why you should not feed anything from outside, not only because you don't know what's toxic, but also because they could be carrying parasites. There was this video of a praying mantis, and they put him in, I don't know if it's water or alcohol, but they put his butt in water or alcohol, and then this extremely long parasite came out of it because it didn't like what it was getting put into. So the parasites will be inside of that, so you have to really be careful, and that's why you shouldn't feed from the outside. But I'm not done with the list of food. So we talked about staple food. Staples foods is something you could feed every single day. Always keep it a variety, but there is treats. You might have gone to a store and see like superworms, for example. Yes, you can feed superworms, but they are very high in fat content, and they can make your bearded dragon obese. So I recommend like maybe once a week or once every 2 weeks. You could do 2 times a week, but definitely keep it varied. And the reason I say that is because superworms are also highly addictive. Bearded dragons have been known to eat a superworm and want nothing else. You present them something, they're like, I want that superworm. Whatever you gave me last time, that's what I want. They will go on hunger strikes. I had a bearded dragon male who ate superworms, and he got addicted to them. And I literally did not feed him insects for 4 months. I didn't feed him any insects just to try to break him from that. Finally, I showed him a discoid roach, and he was like, oh, I'm gonna eat that. I want insects now. So it's very important, like I said, vary that because they're so fattening. They can really make your bearded dragon overweight, and if it becomes overweight, just like humans, he can have liver disease, heart failure, just like humans. It's not healthy to have an extremely fat and obese bearded dragon. And again, that's not the only treat you can have. There's like butterworms, I think, is another one. Some people feed pinky mice, like baby mice. I highly recommend you keep that to like once a month. Again, it's a lot on the bearded dragon. He's gonna have to digest that. It's very fattening for the bearded dragon. So some people do feed pinky mice, and you could feed that once a month. Waxworms is another one. There's tons of worms on the feeder sites. Just check them out. Like I said, even though I have this video, it's always good to continue researching and continue learning. This is just a beginner's guide here. Now, we've covered insects and various things. What about vegetables? Okay. Now, bearded dragons do eat both, and they will eat both. However, if you have a bearded dragon that doesn't want to eat its vegetables, if you present him a salad and he doesn't want to eat that, don't worry too much about it. I see people freak out a lot over that. And when a bearded dragon wants to eat something, he will eat it, okay? If you just make sure to offer it every single day. I like to keep the ratio for baby bearded dragons 80-20, 80% insects, 20% plant matter. vegetables, if you will. But say you want your bearded dragon to eat it, you can trick your bearded dragon. How a lot of people do it is they'll get a salad and they'll sprinkle some mealworms in there. The mealworms are crawling around on the leaf. The bearded dragon eats both. He's just going to eat the leaf in the salad by accident. So that's one way, if you're really truly worried about it, you can do that. But don't worry too much. A lot of people are freaked out over this and they're like, oh my goodness, my bearded dragon's not eating his greens. What am I going to do? Trust me, your bearded dragon's a smart lizard. He's going to be fine. I know I just talked about them accidentally eating fireflies, but a lot of times they just see insects, and where they're from, they're just not naturally used to that, and obviously haven't evolved to know like, well, I can't eat that, obviously. And it kind of sounds like they're stupid, but they're not. They're smart, and they will eat the salad when they want to. Let's get into the staple vegetables, please. So, for staple vegetables, I like to feed them a wide variety of greens, including mustard greens, collard greens, turnip greens, spring mix. Now, and very important, when you get spring mix, make sure to remove the spinach. Spinach is pretty bad for them. However, you still can feed spinach, just not a lot. Make sure to keep that in small quantities. It does stuff with the absorption of calcium. It has a lot of oxalates, and that binds with calcium. They can't absorb the calcium. Anyways, point is, you want to limit the use of spinach. It's not that bad for them, but it can be with excessive use over time. So take out the spinach. It looks like this. You can also feed them bok choy, arugula, endive, escarole, kale. You can feed them kale as well. Cactus pads, and tons of stuff vegetable-wise. There is lists online, but that's just pretty much a general thing of what you can get for them. There is some stuff you want to feed sparingly, keep it very minimal, not an everyday sort of thing. So I went over the staples. Let's talk about stuff that's a minimal. So the occasional food, which, feed occasionally, is asparagus, basil, cilantro, dandelions. So when I say dandelions, yes, you can feed them dandelions from outside. However, make sure, obviously, there's no pesticides on them, haven't been sprayed with anything, but yeah, you can just go grab the dandelion flower, little dandelion leaves, and feed them to your bearded dragon. Bearded dragons love dandelions. They're very healthy for them as too, because they have so much nutrients. But again, feed occasionally. Cucumber, carrots, clover, lemongrass, parsley, radicchio, squash, Swiss chard, yam. And like I said, spinach. Spinach is one of those things. You can find it in spring mix. So you can put it aside and maybe once a month or something like that. Once every 2 weeks, you can feed them to the spinach that you put aside. Moving on to something that you don't want to feed, make sure not to feed them mushrooms, avocados, or onions. Okay, stay away from that. Now, what about fruits? I know a lot of people would love to see their bearded dragon eat a strawberry or a berry or something like that, but fruits are very high in sugar content, and a lot of times it's a lot of, for melons, it's a lot of water. So I would advise, you want to feed fruits very occasionally, once a month, rather than once a week or daily or something like that. So keep that in mind. I actually don't even give my bearded dragons any fruits at all. You can if you want to, but like I said, feed it occasionally, very occasionally, compared to once a week. So now I've talked about what a bearded dragon can eat. How much can a bearded dragon eat? I get this a lot. A lot of people get a little scared. They're like, oh my gosh, do I feed them once a day, 2 times a day, 3 times a day, 4 times a day? You don't have to worry about that, okay? How I do it is like this. From 0 months to a year, so when they were born to 1 year of age, I pretty much feed my bearded dragons as much as they will eat through the day. I will offer them maybe twice a day is usually what I offer them. Once in the morning and once a little bit after that, maybe at lunch. Once you start getting past 4 o'clock in the afternoon, I don't feed my bearded dragons because you want them to digest that food. You don't want it sitting in their stomach overnight. So like I said, early morning, I know some people aren't morning people. So maybe if you're work nights, you're leaving for work, drop some food in there, go to your job, and they'll eat it. But I feed mine as much as they can eat. What do I mean by that? I have my crickets and I'll offer it to them, and when they eat it, I'll wait for them to eat. And I keep on offering them a cricket until finally a cricket gets in there and they're just like, I don't want any more. I don't want any more crickets. And that could be 5, that could be 10. It really just depends because they are growing, and that's why I offer it. I offer it until they stop eating it pretty much. Now, you don't have to offer them 30 crickets, obviously, because they sometimes will. Sometimes bearded dragons will just eat forever. So you have to be very careful about that. But I say maximum 15 crickets, okay, in one sitting. That's a good amount of crickets. But I pretty much offer it until they kind of just aren't interested or just seem full. And my bearded dragons usually seem full. Your bearded dragon may be different. He might be a dumpster and just go to town. You want to feed them 80-20. 80% insects and 20% plants. Leave the salad in there, and when they want the salad, they'll go eat it, but offer them a lot of insects, variety of insects, obviously the crickets, mealworms, dubias, all that type of stuff. Feed them a lot so they can, as much as they can eat, and that's healthy for them. And then when they're after about 1 year of age, I switch it up. It's reversed. I go 80% plant matter, 20% insects, and I also hold back tons of what they'll eat. And it's really just because that's when they're almost full grown. Some dragons, it's different. That's why I said maybe around 1 year. After that, I kind of slow it down because once your dragon, when you feed him like this, he's going to continue growing, shedding consistently, but then he's going to slow down. And then once you start seeing him packing on weight, that's when you want to hold back. Once you stop seeing him grow and pack on weight, because they can stay pretty slim and they're just going to grow. They're going to use that, grow. But once they get to certain weight, just like humans, kids will just eat all kinds of stuff, start growing. And then when they stop, like adults, you start getting fat because you don't have to grow anymore. You don't need as much food. Same for bearded dragons. So when they are adults, I hold back food a lot, okay? I know a lot of people are like, oh my gosh, you're gonna starve it. Okay, lizards are very good about conserving food in their, they store their fat in their tail and that keeps them energy for a long time. Lizards can go months without food. In wintertime, you're gonna know this as well. In wintertime, most bearded dragons will go into brumation. It's like a hibernation. They go to sleep and they will not eat. They'll just go and sleep, not really interested about it. And so they can go a long time without food. So you don't have to worry about this, but I only feed my bearded dragons once to twice a week once they reach adulthood. So that way it keeps them from not being so fat and obese. I know it's kind of crazy. 3 to 4 days of not feeding them, it's kind of wild, but if you have a bearded dragon that's older and you don't feed him for 3 or 4 days and you notice you're like, hey, he's not losing weight at all. He kind of staying the same size. That's exactly why. So when I do feed him for that 1 to 2 days, I only feed him like a large, dubia roach, maybe a super worm or like 2 crickets for those days. And that's all I feed him. That's it. Not a lot of food. I don't feed them as much as they can eat. I feed them very little. So don't worry if they're not eating a lot. Only worry if they're getting super, super skinny and they're starting to lose tail fat. That's the only time you really should worry. If they're fine, they look fat, they look healthy, you're totally okay. So the best rule I can offer is feed as much as your dragon will eat in like a 10-minute period. I would say like, oh, maybe 15 crickets, but maybe you have small crickets and your bearded dragon is big, so maybe it is 30 crickets. Like I said, it really depends on the situation. A good rule of thumb is you want to feed your whatever size cricket to your bearded dragon as much as it'll fit in between his eyes, So if the cricket is like the same length of one eye to the other, that's a good size cricket for your bearded dragon. So we talked about food, and you may have heard of something called supplementation. I don't work for some vitamin store or anything like that, but you see this in the bearded dragon community a lot, and you're probably wondering, how much do I supplement a week? How much do I give them? How much do I dust? And if you're unfamiliar with dusting, what this is what you would do is you put this like in a container or a plastic bag. I'm trying to look for mine, how to find it. I like to put mine in this container, and I'll pour the supplement in there. When I put the crickets in there, shake it up, open it up in the cage, he eats it, and that's how I dust my crickets. A lot of people do it differently. They use a Ziploc bag, throw the dust in there, throw the crickets in there, shake it up, dust some, give it to your bearded dragon. Now, why does he need supplements? Well, bearded dragons in the wild can eat a variety of stuff that they know and can eat and get vitamins and stuff from that. In captivity, a lot of times if you go to a PetSmart, a pet store, you're getting like crickets that are just on its last leg. Say you probably are familiar with this if you had a bearded dragon for a bit. Say you bought like 30 crickets. You get home overnight, they all died. Well, that's because they're dehydrated, they're starved to death. They were in there like, please, somebody save us, and then you got them, and maybe you didn't give them the water they needed, or they were already just gonna die. So that's why you need the supplementation. They have nothing almost to give your dragon besides just their bodies, like a little bit of nutrients. So that's why this is important. It's also important to gut load your insects. What that means is you feed them a day before you give them to your bearded dragon, so that way it is getting the vitamins that it needs. But to double check and make sure, you want to give them vitamins. It's very important to dust. If you have proper UVB, if you watch my other videos, you know what I'm talking about. Say you have an Arcadia T5 24-inch high output 12% bulb or a Zoo Med 10.0. You make sure you have to get calcium without D3 and Reptivite or any others. Everything has to be without D3. So if you have it with D3, change it, because that means you have good UVB. Good UVB, they'll automatically their body will make the D3. Okay, so you don't want to risk overexposure to that. They can overdose on that. So without D3, if you have a great UVB setup already, okay? Remember, that's very important. UVB. I use this once a month, okay? Once a month, that's how much I dust the crickets, throw it into once a month. That's as much as I give the multivitamins. The calcium from ages 1 to 12, once a week, once to twice a week. They're very little guys, okay? They don't need much of it. A lot of times I might skip a week, It really just depends on you, on how you want to do it. You could do 2 times a week. Some people do 3 times a week. I just feel like it's a lot to give them. So like supplement myself once to twice a week. That's how much I supplement for my bearded dragons. Again, too much of this is very bad for your bearded dragons. A lot for their bodies. Too much of supplementation, too much of eating is the same as people. Too much of anything is not a good thing. It can kill them. So like I said, once to twice a week, once a month for the multivitamin. Next up is water. So a lot of people who have bearded dragons will experience this. They're like, my bearded dragon's not drinking water. That's happening? Why isn't he doing this? You offer a water bowl and he's not drinking. What's the issue here? Well, bearded dragons are a desert species, so they're very good at conserving water. And most lizards are very good at that as well. But a lot of times a water bowl, they just won't drink standing water. If you drip water on their nose or around them, you'll see that, oh my goodness, and they'll start drinking that. It's always good to provide a water bowl in your aquarium, but just don't be, taken back when your bearded dragon's just not drinking from the water bowl at all. You may have also heard that water bowls will make the humidity too high. Do not worry about that. That's all false. I've had bearded dragons for decades, and 10 years, like about 15 years. Okay, I'm not like that old, but I've had bearded dragons almost my whole life, and I've had water bowls in their terrariums my whole life as well, and have never had a single issue. My bearded dragons are still alive to this day. None of them's died. People worry about humidity again way too much. Do not worry about it. Put the water bowl in there. It's totally fine. And if they're not drinking from the water bowl, offer the droplets on their nose, okay? Because like I said, maybe they just don't want to drink that, but they are thirsty. And I know I said earlier they're smart. It sounds like they're stupid, but it's just the way they are. I know, right? You can't lead a horse to the water, something, whatever that expression goes. But if they're not drinking, offer the water droplets on the nose and start drinking that. Now, well, my bearded dragon doesn't drink from the water bowl. Obviously, he's going to drink from that, and I'm gonna have to offer that more often from now. Once every 2 days is what I offer mine. Now you're probably wondering what type of water to use. There we go. I give mine tap water. I get my tap water and spring water sometimes when I have it. Spring water is pretty cheap around where I live. It's like $1 for a gallon. I usually get a gallon for all my animals, but then I run out. I'll just give them tap water. Tap water is fine, okay? You don't have to worry about it. It's not a frog. Anyways, I hope this helped. That's the entire video. If you enjoyed this, like and subscribe. If you have any questions, drop those down in the comments below. I hope I was of some help to you, and I will see you next time.